What do we think about two-stop strategies? Personally, I absolutely love them, and it made this race so much more dynamic. It provides so much more opportunities for drivers and teams alike to capitalize on the race and misfortunes. So, I don't know. I mean, if everyone's watched a race who's listened to this, then you obviously know what I'm talking about. It was a two-stop race. We had multiple people driving for the undercut, the overcut, and a couple of drivers who spun or damaged their front wing at the early stages during the race. And if it was a traditional one-stop race, they would have been going to the end of the race on a set of hards, but it wasn't this traditional one-stop race. So actually, by them boxing earlier, yes, they still were at a disadvantage, but they were always going to box again. So they managed to get back into the flow of the race. They weren't at the back of the pack trying to chase the tails. It was more manageable, which I think is just brilliant. I loved this race. And I think mostly it's because it was a two-stop race. We don't see them very often, but wow, what strategies. We had strategies everywhere. Cars boxing left, right, and centre. People going on to mediums when other drivers went on to hards and vice versa. I mean, it was just crazy. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. What do you think?
I'm inclined to agree. I think that we've talked before about them introducing various things like sprint qualifying to possibly introduce a bit more randomness to a sport that clearly has like a hierarchy in terms of car performance. And those little bits of extra bits where you emphasize the team sport and the need to get it right at every single stage, including pit stops, that impacts your final performance as well as obviously the performance of your car. I think that two-stop strategies are a really good way to do that within the race. I do see the point of view that says that they should just start on a set of tyres and have something where they can push the entire race and just have it be pure, unadulterated racing. But it emphasizes the team sport element with the pit crews. I really like the coming in really fast pit stops, like 2 seconds. That sort of stuff is great fun to see who can nail it down to the last millisecond. I rather like that myself. And yeah, more interesting strategies overall. There's a little bit more ambiguity as to when the right time is to go, especially a track like Circuit of the Americas where the tyre deg is quite high. It's a very hot venue. It's kind of similar to Bahrain in some ways, it seems, in that you have this pretty fast track with high deg in great heat. So yeah, I agree. I do like the two stoppers, and we saw some good strategies and some sort of unsung strategies as well that yielded some good results that we can touch on later. So that's it. You're praising the two-stop strategy.
That was it. I just wanted to, we don't really talk about strategy as in we always talk about the one stop, but it was a two-stop race and we don't get many of those a year. So I just wanted to see where you're at. I definitely prefer them. And I think we should be encouraging like softer tires so we can have like the cars going as fast as they can to do like these sub 2 second pit stops, coming in and back out again on another set of like mediums to try and go as fast as they can. No, I'm fed up of seeing cars boxing on lap 10 going onto the hards and going to the end of the race. I'm sure there's no fun in that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could put more thought into this, but I have to sort of go back and look at it a little bit more. But in my mind at the moment, I'm thinking rather fondly on when we used to have all of those old tyre compounds. There was loads of them, and you had your hard, your medium, your soft, your super soft, your ultra soft, your hyper soft. It's just not only is it slightly comedic in how the sort of soft they kept going, but it felt like there were more strategic options. And I rather liked the idea of having that option to just push and push and push into pit more as a result, but for it to be benefited in raw pace. So yeah, I rather like that idea. And yeah, the two stoppers do tend to yield some good stuff usually. And I think you touched on it as well. There's a little bit more leeway if you do end up in an incident. You're not sort of completely out of it and just forced to go the whole way with either damage or, you're basically giving up and you're going to end up at the back of the grid. That kind of ended up the case for Ocon at one point, and obviously he ended up retiring. But yeah, he had a bit of trouble and ended up near the back for quite a long time, didn't he? So